Welcome to the Deering Estate. On today's virtual field trip, we're going to be developing a water filter system inspired by nature in order to turn dirty water into clean water. In today's experiment, we're going to be exploring how water is filtered in nature. On a hot day like today, water is going to be evaporating from the bay behind us and rising up into the air to form clouds like the ones that you see behind me. That's considered condensation. Now, when those clouds become very, very heavy, they're going to come together very close, bring those water molecules tight, and produce precipitation. Usually in South Florida, that comes in the form of rain. Now that rain can fall in one of two places, right back down onto the Biscayne Bay where it started, or it can land on land. When water lands on Earth's surface, we consider this groundwater. Its next step is to start seeping down through the Earth's layers. This is going to be where it is filtered. Once water has made its way through the many layers of soil, it's going to end up in our crust, in an aquifer formed by limestone, our bedrock here in South Florida. That aquifer is then going to transport that filtered clean water to one of the many springs that we can find here in South Florida, like the one in our boat basin behind me. Today we're going to be building a water filtration system that's inspired by that natural filtration that we just discussed. We're going to use natural materials that we find around us, things like sticks, rocks, and leaves, and try to turn dirty water into clean water. So for this experiment, we're going to be building our water filter using a recycled 2-liter bottle, which we have cut in half. The filter itself will go in the top portion of the bottle, which will sit inside of our bottom half of the bottle, and that will hold up our filter as it is draining water. You can recreate this using any type of plastic water bottle, big or small, or you could use a funnel over a jar like a pasta sauce jar. Now, as with any experiment, we always want to start off with a design or a plan. This is going to help us guide our experiment later on. Of course, this might not be the design that ends up filtering our water the best, but it is a starting point. So for me, I've decided to go ahead and put leaves with holes as the base layer. Now, I'm only going to be pulling leaves from the ground, never from a living plant. On top of that, I'm going to weigh them down with rocks. I'm using limestone that I can find outside on the ground as well. And above the rocks are going to be more leaves and some sticks that I find on the floor. Now that I've gathered my supplies, I'm going to go ahead and assemble my project, which will hopefully be able to filter this dirty water. Now that we've completed our design, we're going to go ahead and test it, see if it can turn this dirty water into something a bit cleaner. As you can see, after just one trial, our water is significantly cleaner than it was at the start. However, we are going to continue to filter our water just to see how clean we can get it. Ideally, you would want to repeat this process of filtering it through your design several times, 2 or 3 times at least. Now ideally, after each one of these trials, our water should be getting cleaner, as you can see here. However, if it's not, and you notice that there's no real difference between one trial to the next, you're going to want to reevaluate the design of your filter. Perhaps try changing up the layers, adding more of one material, less of another. The choice is yours. As you can see, when we compare the water that our experiment was able to filter with the water that we started off with, our experiment was actually quite successful. We could continue this process and further filter the water to see if we can get it cleaner, but it's important for us to remember that this water is not yet safe to drink. Even though this water appears to be clean, there are still little organisms and bacteria living within it that if we consume them by drinking this water would make us very sick. We hope you enjoyed today's virtual field trip to the Deering Estate. If you plan on recreating this at home, make sure you take pictures and videos and tag us on Instagram at Discover Deering. See you next time!